A host of activity is underway on Bristol, Tennessee's East Cedar Street between 5th Street and Virginia Avenue, officially launching the final leg of a major construction project that began in early 2021. This phase of the project includes a host of improvements, from utility relocation to the installation of sidewalks, to finalize a $9 million project designed to vastly improve access to the northeast area of the city.
We started storm drain installation over the past month or two. They're working on storm drain installation down around 5th, between 5th Street and the railroad. So you'll see a lot of flagging in that area, so if you can avoid the area, then that'd be best. And they're going to work their way up from 5th up to Virginia Avenue with the storm drain system, and then also the grading contractor will come in behind them and start working on the cutting the road down. The road actually gets cut down about 3 foot or so at Kentucky, so there'll be a pretty good change in there that you'll be able to notice. Once they get the storm drain in and start cutting the grade down, they'll start installing the curb and gutter in the area. And then they'll work on the sidewalks, the tie-ins to the side streets, driveways, all that, along with reinstalling the signals at Virginia Avenue and 5th Street. Those signals will be upgrades to what was there before, with loop detectors that'll make the flow of traffic a little better, a little more efficient than it was before. And then of course we'll go into paving, hopefully late spring into summer, and complete the job. So we hope to have everything done by summertime this year.
Conceptualized many years ago, the project was first approved in 2011 as part of Bristol's Long Range Transportation Plan 2035. The first phase of construction began in January 2021 on the section of roadway between King College Road and Florida Avenue. This section of road remained closed for several months, and detour routes were established as crews installed a box culvert and modified a steep S-curve near King College. Travel lanes were widened, and curbing, guttering, and sidewalks were installed before the road reopened in September 2021. Combined, these improvements have helped divert water from adjacent properties during times of heavy rain and improve safety for both motorists and pedestrians.
The roadway in that S-curve near King College, the road was a lot lower in elevation. The existing roadway was a lot lower in elevation, so they raised the grade of the road some in there, which will help with the drainage of that creek that crosses in that location. And they also put a new, larger box culvert in for the creek to flow through, which also helps. And the curve itself, the S-curves out at King College, we did straighten the curves out some, as you can see here. These lines are the original curves in that location, and then the darker lines is what's there now.
Crews then began improvements between Virginia and Florida Avenues, again widening the travel lanes, installing curbs, guttering, and sidewalk, and reducing steep grades to improve sight distance. In addition to these visible changes, a great deal of work occurred underground to relocate and upgrade utilities along the entire corridor. Necessary work that sometimes created unexpected delays.
I think the utility conflicts at the beginning of the job was the biggest change in scope as far as the timeline of the project. Those conflicts delayed the project a lot in the beginning. I think first 6 to 8 months of the project. You have gas lines, communication lines, electric, water, sewer, all that. You may not see all that. A lot of it's buried, a lot of it's overhead. But when you do anything with the road, putting storm drains in, you're going to have conflicts with water and sewer lines that are buried under the road or adjacent to the road. So we try to work with the utilities as much as possible to alleviate any of the conflicts, but sometimes it's just not possible. And it's like a cascade effect. When you change one part of the project, you're going to run into something else, a utility line possibly, that you might have conflict with this change.
Now on the final leg of the project, the city has found ways to stay on budget and make up some lost time with minor modifications that have prevented the need to move some utilities.
Some of the changes that I mentioned that we were talking about, it was just working with the utility company that had a substantial network under East Cedar from Virginia up to Kentucky, that it was going to cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars to move that line. Well, we made some changes with our project through that area that relieved them from having to move their utilities. So it sped the project up by 2 months just doing that.
The final phase of construction now underway will result in occasional lane closures as utility relocation is completed. A steep hill is taken down, travel lanes are widened, and sidewalks are installed. However, when paving is completed this summer, the end result will be a much improved East Cedar Street.
If you remember that road before, you probably had 8 to 10 foot lanes in places, and now they're 10 to 12 foot lanes or wider in some places. So it just feels safer when you're driving through there and when you're walking through there. Most of the property owners are pleased with the project. They're happy with the final outcome that from Virginia to King College that they can see. Most of them out through there have been pleased with what we've done so far out through there. And I think once it's all said and done and you see the finished product between Fifth and Virginia, I think it'll drastically improve the aesthetics and pedestrian usage and everything through that corridor too.
The Tennessee Department of Transportation is funding 80% of the $9 million project, with the balance paid by the City of Bristol, Tennessee. Baker Construction Services Incorporated is the primary contractor for the project. CDM Smith of Knoxville served as the design engineer, and the firm of Mattern & Craig has provided consulting and inspection services. For additional information, please contact the City of Bristol, Tennessee's Department of Engineering at 423-989-5523.